Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some more Soulforge content. For those that don't know me, I'm Jed or Barnex Soup. I've been playing Soulforge Fusion for a while now. Generally, I make gameplay videos, but I'm trying to step into some more opinions on the state of the game and stuff like that. Some more crafted, edited videos as well. Which is not my strong suit, but we'll see how we go. And yeah, while I'm far from being a professional when it comes to gaming, card games in particular, I have played a significant amount of this game and had some decent results in some tournaments and stuff like that. Uh, and I think the most important thing is that I am full of opinions. But the common ground with all my opinions is that they are correct. So, yeah, today's correct opinion will be about Soulforge. Hate might be a bit of a strong word, bit of an overstatement, but to me, it's just not a very fun card to play against or even really with. And I hope to go into a few of the reasons why I think Rumblespark is a little bit of a problem. Do I want to do it that way? Yeah, sure, that'll be fine. Maybe I should have got rid of the Smash Fist, but the fun of RSA. I got all that trouble and it just comes back. If you haven't had the unfortunate displeasure of seeing a Rumblespark embodiment deck, then lucky you. Especially if it's a very highly tuned Rumblespark embodiment deck. If you haven't seen it before, I guess Rumblespark embodiment is a level 3 creature that comes onto the board when an elemental creature deals damage to the opposing player, transforming the Rumblespark energy exalt into the creature. How exactly do you deal with it? There are numerous ways that you can potentially deal with it. There is a lot of there is a lot of ways that you can stop it, at least temporarily, right? Cards like stabilizing and even suppressing uh, energy prison and electronet can help keep its attack down. It can, if its attack is down, you can suppress it and get rid of it off the board that way. You have removal cards like Isolate, Dreadbolt, Grave Pact, Disintegrate. These all have potentially enough damage to be able to remove it off the board. And this destroys the Rumblespark, but then it transforms back into the Exalt. It can also be removed from the board with things like Botanimate, Polymorpher, which turns into a Wisp, Dendrify, or Druid, which can turn it into an Oak Father minion. Naturalizing, turn off its ability. Batter Hives does the same thing. Leyline Vermins also does the same thing. All of these, which can allow it to be killed permanently. And then there's even Breakwoods from the newer sets that can remove it when it's in its exalt form. So it does sound like there's a lot of answers, right? There's a lot of things to help deal with it. So why is it still that Rumblespark is one of my most hated cards to play against? It's got to do with when we go more into how these cards work and what they do. A lot of the cards that I noted have a lot of conditions or ways that make them not so useful, right? Like stabilizing, energy prison, electronet. They all drop the Rumblespark embodiment's attack. Stabilizing puts it back to its 4-8. Energy Prison drops it down to 0. Electronet drops it down for 0, potentially for free as well if it has like Electronet is -5 at level 1, whatever. It is potentially free if the Rumblespark embodiment has had its attack buffed by having a spell blade already. So, I mean, that's nice. No problems there. But the problem is that if you do lower it down to 0, if you do lower it as well, the body is still there, and then they just need to play one more spell and it's back again because every time a spell is played, it gets 4 attack, right? Very like so that's temporary at best way of dealing with it. And then if you've played the Electronet or Electronet, if you played that without it being for free, if you played the Energy Prison, like Energy Prison obviously gets you an upgrade, but you still got no bodies on the field. Stabilizing, you will have a body on the field, but stabilizing creatures are not known to be big bodies or anything like that. So they're not necessarily trading with anything. They're not necessarily building up your board presence or anything like that. So for a temporary gain, it's really not the best way of dealing with it, right? Dreadbolt and Botanimate can remove it temporarily or permanently. Dreadbolt only temporarily because that just kills the creature and it goes back to being the Exalt. Whereas Botanimate, it removes it, it just replaces it with a Wisp. But the only problem with them is that Rumblespark is a level 3 creature that can potentially come out in cycle 1. Botanimate and Dreadbolt are what we call on-level removal, where they have to be the same level as the creature that they want to kill, right? So the level 1 Botanimate can only replace level 1 creatures. Level 1 Dreadbolt can only kill level 1 creatures. Level 2 kills level 2, level 3 kills level 3. So you can't remove this level 3 creature with these removal, this style of removal, until cycle 3. Assuming that you see your removal every cycle. Until then, assuming that you can last. Assuming you haven't died to the Rumblespark by then already anyway. And then we said, Isolate, Disintegrate, Grave Pact. They all have enough damage to kill it off at level 1. But in the terms of Isolate, it needs to be alone. It can't have any creatures next to it. With Disintegrate, it has to have just come in that turn, which isn't always possible to have that in hand at that time. Or requires you sacrificing a creature on your board to get rid of it temporarily, by the way. These are all temporary ways of getting rid of the Rumblespark embodiment. So then you're down, with Grave Pact, you're down a body. Bannerhide also has to be level 3 to turn its ability off, and also it puts it into Defender, so unless you're on Forge and attacking, it will live until the next turn anyway. Polymorpher also needs to be level 3. Dendrify and Druid and Breakwood need to be level 2 to deal with it in their respective ways. So most of these ones you're not dealing with the Rumblespark until level 2 at the earliest, and until cycle 2 at the earliest. Leyline Vermin turns off any creature's ability, but it's also only a 4/7 creature, so unless the Rumblespark has already taken some damage and you can get a trade there, or like you have another way to kill it that turn as well, it will just take a hit and then come back on the next turn. Still, you can get rid of it. You can get rid of it permanently if the stars align. But also, obviously, there are things like Stitches, River of Souls, and stuff like that that can bring the Nova Elementalist level 1 back, which will allow it to play the Exalt again if their deck allows that. So there is still ways to bring it back, even if you do remove it permanently as well. And another reason why Necrium is just super, super strong. But, like, am I saying that Rumblespark should be easier to kill? Should it be a level 1 Exalt, level 2 creature, or something like that? Honestly, no. I think Rumblespark being a level 3 creature that can potentially come out in cycle 1 is okay. It's not a huge. That's not a huge problem to me. There are plenty of ways that it can be temporarily dealt with. You can just chump block it, stuff like that, depending on what the opponent's deck is doing, obviously. So, what do I feel could be done to balance this card? It is honestly kind of hard, seeing as this is a hybrid physical and digital game. So, uh, there are obvious issues with errataing physical product that already exists, right? Um, Not that erratas are infeasible. This was before my time, but evidently there was already an errata that affects the way Rumblespark interacts in the Tempest Necrium combination, like the way that transformation affects gameplay was errated so that it didn't count as playing the card or playing a spell or anything like that. It didn't count as dying when it transformed. So things like Shambler procs from the Rumblespark transforming, things like spell playing procs for the Dark Heart Sorcerer. When the Rumblespark transforms, no longer count. They evidently used to. This was before I was playing this game, and I'm really glad that I wasn't playing when that was a thing because that would have been crazy. Um, but yeah, also I'm not a game designer, tester, balancer, anything like that. So take my opinions here with a grain of salt. Even though my opinions are correct, do take them with a grain of salt. I just play this game a lot, and I like this game, and I don't like Rumblespark. But yeah, I think the biggest problem with the card is the ease of activating the transformation in the first place. Obviously, Cerazol is a lot worse because it is a lot harder to activate. I don't actually have too much of a problem with the actual creature when it's out. I just think it's too easy to get it out and to keep getting it out. Things like Dark Art Sorcerer and Vampiric creatures and stuff like that should not be able to just flip it straight away. I feel like it should potentially transform only with combat damage, similar to how cards like Assassin's Cliff, the effect from Assassin's Cliff activates and stuff like that. Does combat damage, and then that gets the proc there. This would make relying on other effects like breakthrough stealth or aggressive creatures much more necessary, while making elemental synergies within the Tempest decks have a lot more value as well. Since it transforms off of an elemental doing damage, right? Like maybe making it combat damage only means you are taking away from the theme of Tempest of doing face damage, which I think is a little bit of a valid argument as well. I do understand that, but unfortunately, Necrium does face damage better than Tempest. Because it also gets the life gain from it as well in a lot of the situations. Necrium just comes along and ruins a good thing, and so you got to kind of deal with it. I think maybe you could make it be Tempest creatures in the lane doing damage that flips it. Something like Tempest creatures in this lane become elementals, making things like Betrayer, Dark Art Sorcerers very valuable. Which I believe, I'm not sure if there's any out there or anything, Dark Art Sorcerer in a Noble Elementalist deck, but I do believe it's theoretically possible. I think they are available in the same set. Obviously, it would limit non-Tempest creatures from being able to flip the transformation in that instance, because it wouldn't turn non-Tempest creatures in that lane into elementals. So things even with breakthrough or aggressive stealth doing combat damage wouldn't transform it, which I don't think is necessarily the right way to go about it either. there could be a combination of these two aspects that I've been talking about. So, like when a creature does combat damage or an elemental does damage to the opposing player, transform this. With the Tempest creatures in this lane become elementals, so all Tempest creatures in that lane become elementals, and then like any creature that does combat damage or any elemental that does any kind of damage can flip the card. But then the errata is getting quite a bit wordy, right? The text on the card is getting quite a bit wordy, which like I don't necessarily think is always a bad thing, but it can be a bad thing. So yeah, there's definitely some potential. Obviously, as I said before, I'm not a game designer or anything like that, so I'm sure there's other ways that could be thought up. These are just the kind of ways that make sense to me while still keeping it thematic to the way that the card should work and does work currently, but still making it a bit harder to get those procs off, right? I feel like just changing it to combat damage is the easiest fix. It's just one word added in. But as I said, it does take away from things like Wildfire Maiden or something like that that goes in Exalts and procs face damage. But I don't think that's the biggest deal. I think Rumblespark embodiment being an issue is more of an issue. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of coming to the end of my thoughts on this. If anyone else has some good suggestions or anything like that, or they just want to let me know how dumb my ideas are, how wrong my correct opinion is, feel free to leave comments. I check any that I get. Not that it's very many normally, but yeah. Also, if you've made it this far through my video, maybe chuck us a like or a subscribe. I always appreciate that. But yeah, to finalize my thoughts out, I guess in a nutshell, it'd be along the lines of I hate Rumblespark, hate because Necrium is too useful. This is going to be a video in itself of why Necrium is so strong. Because of that, I think we should nerf Tempest. But yeah, on the topic of Necrium usefulness, I intend on doing a video. Maybe that'll be the next one. I've got a few different ideas in the pipeline, but I do think Rumblespark needs some text change just to make it a bit more of a balanced play style. Like, I guess it doesn't necessarily win a lot of tournaments or anything like that. It is what I lost to when I came second in the November tournament. But also, I think that was its first real major win. It is definitely a inconsistent thing because the person playing it needs to draw the Nova Elementalist to be able to get the Rumblespark out. And if the Rumblespark is the only thing the deck has, then it's not going to be the most effective deck. It needs other things as well in case you don't draw the Nova Elementalist. It's just when the Nova Elementalist does get played and does get procced, it just puts it over the top, and it's very unfun to play against. And yeah, either way, I have some more ideas for videos coming. Thank you for watching, guys. Let me know what you think, and I will see you all soon. Have a good one. Peace.